Hello, Virgo. Look at where you are financially right now. Really look at it. The numbers in your account, the bills you're juggling, the opportunities you've had to pass on because the money wasn't there, the dreams you've put on hold because they felt financially impossible, the stress that sits in your chest every time you think about your future. Now hold that image because something between now and March might shift that entire picture, not through magic, not through wishing, but through a convergence of factors, decisions, and timing that could fundamentally alter your financial reality. And whether you're positioned to catch that shift or watch it pass by, that depends entirely on what you do in these next few weeks. So let's explore the energy building around finances as we move toward March, the patterns that might be shifting, the opportunities that could be emerging, and what you need to be doing right now, today, to position yourself for a different financial outcome than the one you're currently experiencing. Take what resonates here. This is about practical awareness combined with energetic alignment. You remain in control of your choices and actions, always. This is simply an invitation to pay attention to what might be available to you right now. Let me start by acknowledging where many of you might be financially stressed. Maybe not broke, but definitely stretched, living paycheck to paycheck or close to it. Working hard, but not seeing that work translate into actual financial stability. Feeling like you're doing everything you're supposed to do, but the results just aren't matching the effort. And that's exhausting. That's demoralizing. That makes you question whether anything you do actually matters. But here's what I'm picking up on. You may be closer to a breakthrough than you realize. Not because the universe owes you one, not because you've suffered enough so now it's your turn, but because there are actual conditions shifting that could create openings, could create momentum, could create the kind of financial movement that's been absent from your life. And the critical piece is this: those openings won't stay open forever. March represents a window, a period where certain energies align, where certain opportunities become available, where certain decisions carry more weight than they would at other times. But windows close, and if you're not paying attention, if you're not prepared, if you're not willing to act when the moment comes, you might miss it entirely. Let me ask you something. What have you been putting off financially? What conversation have you been avoiding? What research have you been postponing? What skill have you been meaning to learn? What side income have you been thinking about but not starting? What budget have you been meaning to create? What debt payment plan have you been meaning to establish? Because I feel like many of you have been in waiting mode, waiting until you feel more ready, waiting until you have more time, waiting until circumstances are better, waiting until you're less overwhelmed. But that waiting, it's costing you. Every day you wait is a day you're not building momentum, not creating options, not positioning yourself for the shifts that might be coming. You know what I'm picking up on most strongly? The sense that March might bring a choice point, a moment where you'll have to decide between what's familiar and what's possible, between playing it safe and taking a calculated risk, between staying in the comfort of what you know doesn't work and stepping into the uncertainty of what might. And that choice It might not look dramatic. It might not feel like a life or death decision in the moment, but it could be one of those seemingly small choices that changes your entire trajectory. That 6 months from now, a year from now, you look back and recognize as the moment things shifted. Let me paint you a picture. It's March. Something appears in your field. Maybe it's a job opportunity. Maybe it's a business idea. Maybe it's an investment option. Maybe it's a collaboration offer. Maybe it's information about a grant or loan or program you qualify for. Maybe it's a conversation that opens a door you didn't know existed. And when that thing appears, you'll have maybe 48 hours, maybe a week to respond, to say yes or no, to move or stay still. And in that moment, everything depends on whether you're prepared, whether you've been doing the internal and external work that allows you to recognize opportunity when it shows up, whether you're in a position to say yes, whether you've built enough clarity and confidence to take the leap, because opportunity doesn't wait for us to be perfectly ready. It shows up when it shows up, and we either meet it or we don't. Now let's talk about what being prepared actually means, because I'm not talking about having everything figured out. I'm not talking about having a perfect plan or total certainty. I'm talking about foundational things that create options when options present themselves. First, clarity. You need to know what you actually want financially, not in a vague, I want more money way, but specifically, what would enough look like for you? What would stability feel like? What would financial freedom allow you to do? What are you actually working toward? Because without that clarity, you can't recognize the right opportunities. Everything looks equally appealing or equally scary, but with clarity, you can discern, you can evaluate, you can choose strategically instead of desperately. Second, systems. You need basic financial systems in place, a budget that you actually follow, a tracking system for income and expenses, a plan for debt if you have it, a savings goal, even if you can only contribute small amounts, an understanding of your credit score and what affects it. These aren't sexy, they're not exciting, but they're foundation, and without foundation, nothing you build will stand. If you don't have these systems, create them now, this week. Don't wait until March, because when opportunity comes, you need to know where you stand. You need to know what you can afford to risk. You need to know what resources you actually have available. Guessing doesn't work, hoping doesn't work, knowing does. Third, skills. What can you do that people will pay for? What value can you create? What problem can you solve? And if the answer to those questions doesn't feel strong enough, what can you learn between now and March that would change that? There are free resources everywhere: YouTube, libraries, online courses, communities. You can learn almost anything if you're willing to invest the time. And sometimes one new skill, one piece of knowledge, one certification, that's what creates the opportunity. That's what makes you the right person at the right time when the moment comes. Drop a comment about what skill you've been meaning to learn but haven't started yet, because sometimes just naming it creates momentum. Fourth, network. Who do you know? Who knows you? Who would think of you when an opportunity appears? And if those answers feel thin, What can you do to expand them? Join groups, show up to events, engage online, reach out to people, not in a desperate networking way, but in a genuine connection way, in a I'm interested in what you do way, in a maybe we can help each other way. Because so many opportunities come through people, through relationships, through someone thinking of you when something comes up. And if you're isolated, if no one knows what you're capable of, those opportunities pass you by without you ever knowing they existed. Um, Let me slow down here because I want to address something. Some of you might be thinking, this all sounds great, but I don't have time for this. Or I'm already overwhelmed. I can't add more. And I hear that. Life is full. Energy is limited. You're already doing a lot. But here's what I need you to understand. You don't have time not to do this. You don't have energy not to invest here. Because staying where you are financially, that's draining you. That stress, that constant worry, that's taking more energy than preparing for change would take. You're spending energy either way. The question is, are you spending it maintaining struggle or building towards something different? Let me ask you another question. What beliefs do you have about money that might be blocking you? What stories are you telling yourself about why financial success isn't available to you? What narratives about rich people or poverty or deservingness are running in the background of your mind? Because your beliefs shape your reality more than you might realize. If you believe money is evil, you'll unconsciously push it away. If you believe rich people are greedy, you won't let yourself become one. If you believe you don't deserve abundance, you'll find ways to sabotage yourself when it shows up. If you believe money is hard to get and easy to lose, that's exactly what you'll experience. And these beliefs, they're often invisible to us. We don't realize we're carrying them. They just feel like truth, like the way things are, but they're not truth. They're programming. And programming can be changed. Let me share something with you. Financial transformation rarely happens through one big event. It's usually accumulation, small improvements that compound, a raise here, a side income there, a debt paid off, an expense reduced, a skill learned, a connection made. And over time, those small things add up to significant change. So don't wait for the lottery. Don't wait for an inheritance. Don't wait for someone to rescue you. Start accumulating small wins now, this week, today, because momentum builds. One good financial decision makes the next one easier. One small success creates confidence for bigger risks. You know what else I'm sensing? Some of you might be about to discover income streams you haven't considered, ways of making money that haven't occurred to you yet, markets for skills you didn't realize were valuable, opportunities in places you haven't been looking. And this might come through conversations, through research, through just paying attention to what frustrates you, because frustration often points to problems that need solving, and problems that need solving represent business opportunities. Through noticing what people ask you for help with, because that reveals your natural gifts. The key is staying open, staying curious, not dismissing ideas because they're unfamiliar or because you don't know anyone else doing them. Some of the best financial opportunities are the ones that aren't obvious to everyone. Let's sit with this for a moment. What if the financial struggle you've been experiencing has been preparation? What if it's taught you things you needed to learn? What if it's built resilience and resourcefulness you'll need for what's next? What if it's actually positioning you to appreciate and steward the abundance that might be coming in ways you couldn't have if things had been easy all along? Sometimes struggle isn't punishment, it's education, it's training. And if you've been in financial struggle, you've been getting an intensive education in survival, in creativity, in doing more with less, in finding ways when there doesn't seem to be a way. And those skills, they're valuable. They don't disappear when your circumstances improve, they become advantages. Let me offer you something practical. Between now and March, commit to one financial action per week, just one. It could be applying for a better job, updating your resume, taking a free course, reaching out to someone about an opportunity, creating a budget, starting a savings account, even with just $10, researching investment options, negotiating a bill, selling something you don't need, starting a side project. One action per week doesn't sound like much, but that's 4 to 6 actions before March. And each action creates information, creates momentum, creates options. 6 small actions could completely change your position, could create readiness where there was none, could build confidence where there was only fear. You know what else might be helpful? Find someone who's achieved what you want to achieve financially. Not celebrities, not people in completely different circumstances, but regular people who were where you are and got to where you want to be. Study them, learn from them, ask them questions if you can, model what worked for them. Because financial success isn't mysterious, it's not magic, it's not just luck. There are patterns, there are principles, there are behaviors that work and behaviors that don't. And most people who've achieved stability or wealth are happy to share what they learned. You just have to be willing to learn, to be humble enough to admit you don't have all the answers, to be curious enough to study what works. Let me ask you one more thing. What would it feel like to believe that financial change is actually possible for you, not just as an abstract concept, but as a real achievable outcome? What would shift in how you show up? What actions would you take? What opportunities would you notice? What risks would you be willing to take? Because I feel like some of you have given up, not consciously maybe, but you've stopped really believing things can change. You've accepted struggle as permanent. You've lowered your expectations to protect yourself from disappointment. And that resignation, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you stop looking for opportunities. You stop preparing. You stop trying. But what if you chose to believe again? Not naively, not ignoring reality, but choosing to believe that change is possible, that effort matters, that your actions can create different outcomes. What becomes available when you believe that? Take what resonates from this reading, leave what doesn't, and remember that you remain in control of your actions, of your decisions, of how you prepare, of what you're willing to risk. March might bring opportunities, or it might not. But if you prepare, if you're ready, if you're positioned, then when opportunity does come, whenever it comes, you'll be able to meet it. This isn't about guarantees. This is about readiness, about not letting another window close because you weren't prepared, about taking your financial life seriously enough to actually do the work instead of just hoping things change. Trust your inner knowing. Trust that you're capable of more than your current circumstances reflect. Trust that financial struggle doesn't have to be permanent. Trust that the actions you take now matter, even when you can't see immediate results. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to consider that change is possible. Thank you for being ready to do the work. You're exactly where you need to be, on the edge of March, on the edge of possibility. What you do with that is up to you. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and start now. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait until you feel completely ready. Just start one small action this week, then another next week. Build momentum because that momentum might be what carries you into a completely different financial reality.